Right, Lawrence Gill here for Eat, Sleep, Boxing Repeat, joined by Eddie Hearn. I'll go quickly into it. Considering you've been courting Breidis for a long time, obviously he's going to be here on Sunday, but he's been more interested calling out Jake Paul. Do you think he actually wants to fight Lawrence Akoli?
I would hope so, because he's a fighter and he's a champion. And I feel like Lawrence Akoli is the #1 cruiserweight in the world. Breidis will probably feel like he's the #1 cruiserweight in the world, but hopefully we can make some sense of it on Sunday. He says he's got a surprise for Lawrence Akoli, which is a bit concerning. But look, Lawrence has got to focus on Cieslak. It's a very dangerous fight. But if we get through on Sunday, hopefully we can make the Breidis fight.
Okay, now I'm just going to move on. Speaking about Dillon White, obviously the contract's just been signed there. Can I ask, has he only just started training now for that Fury fight since the contract?
No, he's been training for a long time. I mean, you know, he had the shoulder injury around the Whyte fight, but even then, 3 or 4 weeks after, he was back in training. He hasn't stopped training. So, and one of the reasons why he's not really saying anything is because, and talk about press conferences, he wants to stay in camp. You know, it's not long till that fight now. So we'll see if it goes ahead. There's still things that are being sorted out, but we're up for that fight, and I believe he can win it.
So you don't think inactivity is a factor at all? He's going to have been out of the ring for over a year.
Yeah, I think it's never great, to be honest with you, but sometimes it's never ideal. You've got to take your opportunities when they present themselves. If you look at Fury, he hasn't been that active. I know he boxed, you know, in, was it October of last year, but beyond that, I don't think he boxed for a year or so either. So both fairly inactive, but rather have some fights going in, but not required.
Obviously, you've been talking to Anthony Joshua, saying he hasn't started camp yet. It might come in about 3 weeks. Does that put...
No, he's started camp, but, you know, the real camp will start generally about 12 weeks out from a fight. So he hasn't stopped training, actually, since the Alexander Usyk defeat. But the real hard sparring, you know, the real boxing training, the real science will kick in about 12 weeks before. So probably about 2 or 3 weeks' time.
So if that's 12 weeks for fight, does that push the AJ Usyk rematch back to sort of June, July?
No, not July. I think middle-end of May at the earliest, early June at the latest.
Do you think there was an element with obviously AJ refreshing his team and quite a big gap between the first fight with Usyk? I feel like on fight night it was talking more like March time. Obviously now we're looking May, June. Was there an element of kind of getting his head back together, you know, picking himself back up?
I think it was also the talks about, you know, a potential step aside that dragged on. Sometimes, you know, you finish one fight and you say, right, I reckon it'll be in February or March, and then you sort of get to November, December and you go, actually it's probably more like April, May. So then there was those discussions as well. But yeah, I think no problem with the amount of time between the fights, September to May. You know, it's pretty standard for AJ, only boxes twice a year. Maybe that'll change in the future, but it won't be a problem.
Just finally going back to Lawrence Akoli, is there any chance he moves to heavyweight before becoming sort of a multi-unified, maybe even undisputed cruiserweight champion? Is that the plan?
I hope not, but he will move to heavyweight. It's an absolute given. You know, he's a huge cruiserweight. He punches very, very hard, but I feel like it would be a waste if he didn't get his hands on the other champions. And I think he can beat them all, and I do think he can become undisputed and then move up and become heavyweight champion of the world.
Okay, Eddie Hearn, thank you very much.